So this question has been in my mind for the last few years. Halloween Ends intentionally invokes Halloween 3. So I've been wondering if Halloween Ends will ever achieve the cult following status of Halloween 3, where it comes out, there are some people who are, receptive to it, but there are a lot of people who are not as much of a fan of it as the previous films, and it becomes sort of divisive, and then over time, more and more people show themselves to be capable of enjoying it for what it is. I again wanted to kind of wait some years and just see if I saw any differences in terms of when people put up reviews. I think it's still a fairly divisive movie, but I'm going to just give my position on why I don't think it'll ever get the status of H3. First of all, Halloween 3 is fundamentally a very different film than the first two Halloweens. And, Season of the Witch is also a movie that knows what it wants to be. This film has a central plot of these masks and the attempt by the villain to try and make these kids, die from putting them on, and it commits to that. That is the main plot of the movie, along with these different robot minions of his. It is a movie that knows what it wants to be, whether you like it or not. It is a film that has a distinct flair, a story that is a specific through line and can be enjoyed on its own for what it is. But then you look at Ends, and even if you like the Corey stuff, and I liked a lot of it, and so I'm not here to say that this is all bad. You can't divorce that movie from the trilogy that it is supposed to be concluding. I maintain if Ends was a standalone film that, like a Halloween story that just was set by itself, kind of like Joker from, what was that, 2019, with Joaquin Phoenix, people probably would like it more. But to make the third film of a trilogy, and technically the fourth film of, if you could count, the 1978 movie, be centered on a completely new character, I still think was a poor choice. I maintain that Corey either should have been introduced in a movie before that one, or they should have just kept Allison's boyfriend Cameron alive and had him do the role. But my point in saying this is that, okay, this movie has baggage Ends, right, that Halloween 3 did not. But the other issue is that, unlike Halloween 3, it cannot commit itself to its idea. So much of Halloween Ends' runtime is spent on Corey, how he became the town pariah, his relationship with Allison, his budding rivalry and antagonism with Laurie and these kids that are messing with him becoming Michael's protege. Again, a lot of time is spent on that. And what is the payoff to it? Him getting killed off essentially right at the start of the final act, where everything with him was leading to another Michael versus Laurie showdown, because we've never seen that before. And again, the issue here is that what Ends seems to be doing with Corey, and to a lesser extent what Halloween 2018 and Kills appeared to be doing with Allison, was setting up a generational shift, right? Michael and Laurie are old. They're in their, 50s, 60s, whatever. These are people that are closer to being seniors than, being youngsters. And, as the movie says, evil never dies, it just changes shape. So the idea that you would have this new evil with Corey, right, another Haddonfield killer, and this new final girl with Allison is what, again, this movie seemed to be building towards. But then what ends up happening in the final act? Michael kills Corey, and Allison is nowhere to be seen for the entire final fight with Michael until it's already over. So even though the movie spends so much time on, them and their relationship and whatnot, it still doesn't stick the landing. It takes all the stuff that it's been building up to and reverts back to something we've seen before, something that truly and honestly was pretty divorced from the movie. Like you can go through and watch Ends. There's really not much having to do with building up the antagonism of Michael and Laurie, because like I said, Laurie, it starts the movie off, she's moved on, Michael's laying up in some sore, she's not actively looking for him. So it's one of these plot threads where it's like, was this whole film just padding to get to that fight? I mean, imagine if Halloween 3 spent all this time on Dr. Chalice, right? And him trying to figure out what the deal is with these masks. And then in the third act, they kill him off, and then they have some new guy show up, and he goes and fights some other person that wants to do stuff with masks. Like it'd be like, what what was the point of following this other plot if it was going to lead to something else? But again, Halloween 3 doesn't do that because it's a movie that knows what it wants to be, whereas Halloween Ends is both a film that is given the baggage of being the last part of a trilogy, and it also does not know how to wrap up itself or the trilogy, so it basically meanders on a plot that really just ends up feeling like filler when you rewatch it knowing what's going to happen instead of what it appeared to be leading to. So for those reasons, I think Halloween Ends will continue to be a divisive film. Again, I criticize the things I like, so I'm not in any way saying that Ends doesn't have some distinctness to it, right? That's the invoking of Halloween 3 on purpose was not something that was bad, but Halloween 3 is a more coherent, standalone film, whereas Ends is not.